much going on in cricket. IPL is in full swing over there in India, and we have Major League Baseball going on over here in North America. We have tons and tons of soccer going on, and of course, track and field is on the track and it's going really fast right now. It's live in Botswana with some very, very interesting races going on there. We have tennis as well, and the top players in the world, Swiatek and Alcaraz, are trying to show that they're really number one and keep winning, and they have moved on really well. And Formula One racing, there is so much talk about Lewis Hamilton and what's going to happen with him and Mercedes and where he's going to go. If Ferrari is going to be number one now, lots going on over there in the Formula One racing. But I'll kick it off this morning with Theo, my friend Theo. And I have a big question for Theo. So we have the Tottenham Hotspur, one of the biggest clubs in England, English Premier League. They went to Newcastle last weekend and they were ranked number 5 in the league and they're looking to get to number 4. And they were thrashed 6-1 by Newcastle. Now, as a big team, you don't get that type of beating very often. So they were so upset that the players from Tottenham are saying they're going to offer to refund the fans who traveled all the way to Newcastle to watch that game. And I'm wondering, Theo, is that the right thing they're doing? Theo? Okay, I guess I lost Theo. Yeah, so it was really a strange move to see the players saying, "Oh my God, it was such an embarrassment." I mean, I heard a lot of things coming out from the fans and a lot of memes on the internet saying, "What is going on with Tottenham? They're no longer a team. Harry Kane is looking to leave, and they're just struggling." But it was a shocker to me because I've never heard. I mean, I saw Manchester United got a big beating, like 7-0 from Liverpool, and they didn't offer to pay back anybody. But now Tottenham is saying, yeah, I think I'm going to pay back the fans who traveled all the way to watch this debacle. So a very, very interesting move there from the players for Tottenham Hotspur. You saw Son looking very dejected. You saw Harry Kane looking very dejected. And I just don't know if they're going to actually do it or they're just talking. Anyway, in more soccer news, or football as we call it, Toronto, believe it or not, is the third franchise in Canadian Women's Pro Soccer League that is set to start in 2025. It's going to call AFC Toronto, and they're going to join so far Vancouver and Calgary in the circuit, which, as I said, is set to kick off in 2025. Now, they're looking to have 8 teams in this league, and so far they're at 3. So they have a little way to go, but it's a great move by Dan Matheson and that organizing committee to see if we can bring pro soccer, women's soccer to Canada. A lot of people out there believe that it's cooler, actually cooler, to watch women's soccer than men's soccer. They complain that the men's dive a lot and they go on their backs and pretend as if they're dying on the field when no one even touches them. So they think it's a lot more theatrics on the men's side than on the women's side. The women just play clean soccer. And it's very interesting because they're very talented. We've seen some marvelous goals. Right now, we see Jamaican Khadija Shaw leading the Premier League over there in England with 17 goals in the league and over 24 overall for the season. So we have goal scorers out there doing a lot of good stuff. And it's interesting to see if, when this league comes to Canada, I mean, it's boasted that it's going to be big and all of that. I'm not sure what type of crowd we're going to get. And hopefully that the population will join in and support this team because trust me, women's soccer is going real far places, and Canada, the Olympic champions, are a great team to watch. So why not have a league here in Canada where we can see all our top players, some of the top players playing here, and a lot of opportunity for young ones to come up and grow and do really, really well in the sport. So AFC Toronto joins Vancouver and Calgary, set to kick off in 2025 for the Canadian Women's Pro Soccer League. And I personally am very, very, very excited to see that. Now on the pitch, let's talk a little bit about Manchester City and Arsenal. So all season long, we've been talking about what's going to happen with Arsenal. They are known to be chokers, like real, real big chokers. And I felt that by January they would have started to choke, but no, at the end of March, they were up by 8 points. I was like, okay, I don't think they're choking anymore. They've figured it out how to do this, how to win a championship after so many years, a couple of decades. So let's see what they're going to do. Now, the biggest game of their life was on Wednesday. because they had drawn the last three games, so they were stuttering, to say the least. And Manchester City was slowly eating away at their lead, coming at them day by day. So on Wednesday, it was Manchester City versus Arsenal. Arsenal traveled over to Man City to play that game, and it was a whipping. They from the first 10 minutes, I think they were down one goal already by De Bruyne, and Manchester City just go on to win 4-1. Now, for a team that was leading by 8 points to get destroyed with only 6 games to go, and to lose 4-1 to the person right behind you, it tells me that they're falling apart when it matters most. Now, Man City, they're looking really, really good. They're trying to hold it down. They're trying to be cool and calm about it. And they're saying, well, we are 2 points behind, so we're not leading yet. But they also have 2 games in hand. So as long as they win those 2 games, that's 6 points, they'll be up by 4. So as long as Manchester City can win out, they will have a wonderful opportunity to get one of the 3 titles they're going for this year. So they're in a great spot right now. They're 2 points behind in the league with 2 games in hand, so they're looking really, really good to win the league. They're going up against Real Madrid in the semifinals of the Champions League, a title that I know they have never won before. Their coach is dying to bring it to Manchester City because many people feel it's one of the best teams money can buy. And they're also in the FA Cup, where on June 3rd, they're going to go up against Manchester United. They're city rivals there. So they're in great position with 3 of the biggest trophies Europe has to offer. They're right there. Right now, I believe they have a wonderful opportunity to win the league, and I'm sort of betting on them that they will at this point in time, unless something goes crazy with them. The Champions League is a little tougher. Real Madrid is no joke, and they know how to win the Champions League. They've been doing it quite a bit, and over the last few years, especially. And Man City seems to struggle when it matters most. So let's see if they can find a way to beat the Real Madrid team. The other semifinal has the 2 Italians, AC versus Inter Milan. So that will be interesting to see who from Italy is going to come out of that. Both very good teams. But the betting public out there is going to say whoever wins the Real Madrid Manchester City semifinal is going to win the Champions League. So, of course, the games have to be played. But at this point in time, that is the big matchup coming up. So, right now, Manchester City is going for the trouble, a very big trouble, and they're looking really, really, really good to get there. Now, as mentioned, the FA Cup comes up on June 3rd, and Manchester United, who lost the Europe semi-finals badly to Seville, 3-0, they came back and they really struggled against Brighton. Now, everyone expected Man U to be one of the teams to just sort of get to the FA Cup finals, but Brighton, who has not had a place in the finals since 1983, they came and they said, we're not going to be denied today. And they totally, when I say totally, they totally outplayed Manchester United. And I was saying to myself, is Manchester United ever going to come back in this game? Find a way, but you know what they did? They did not allow a goal to score on them. And the game went to penalty kicks after extra time. And Manchester United found a way to win 7-6 on penalty kicks. So they're through to the finals after a very, very tough game. And the feeling right now is that they just need to hold on until June and they have everybody healthy and they have a shot to win the FA Cup where they go up against their arch rivals, Manchester City. So it's looking really, really good in England with all those games going on. Still in England, though. I mean, right now, as I mentioned, Tottenham is not in a great spot, and everyone is saying that their top striker, Harry Kane, English captain, top goal scorer in England, the biggest striker in England, to tell the truth, everyone wants to get him. There's a strong rumor he was getting poached by Manchester United, but now the latest rumor has it that Chelsea, Ingleton's favorite team, is now the top contender to sign Harry Kane. And it's going to be interesting to see if they could pull that trigger on that deal because that would be a massive, massive deal and maybe a turnaround time for Chelsea because they're having a horrible season this year. They're totally out of the league, not doing really well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can find the money, find the deal that will get Tottenham's Harry Kane to move over to them. It'll be interesting to see. But Tottenham is going to play, still they're still playing, and right now on Sunday they're going to face off against Liverpool, another big name team who has not done as well this season, very inconsistent, and I'm sure Tottenham wants to bounce back after losing that 6-1 to Newcastle. So it should be an interesting game. Liverpool still think they have an outside chance to make the top four and get to play Champions League next year. So they're coming for this. Tottenham is right there as well. So it should be a very, very interesting and tight game as we look to this weekend on the pitch for the English Premier League. Now, Bayern Munich has a major star from Canada. Fullback Alfonso Davies, the top Canadian player. Everything is all about Alfonso Davies in Canada. And the Gold Cup is coming up in this summer. And sad news coming out of Germany because he's out. He got injured. He sustained a muscle bundle injury at the back of his left thigh when his team lost 3-1 on Saturday. So he had to come off in the ninth minute, which is pretty early in the game. So it's not really looking good right now for Alfonso Davies. They're saying he's going to miss 5 games. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the Gold Cup, which would be a huge blow to Canada. So we're all rooting for Canadian Alfonso Davies to bounce back and get ready and not only help Bayern Munich to a title because they're right in the mix right now, but also come back for Canada this summer as they have the Gold Cup to play for. And Canada is looking really, really good as a big contender in that. So a lot going on in the soccer pitch all over the world. Tons and tons of soccer. Very, very interesting times on the pitch and off the pitch. Now we're going to talk a little bit about track and field. So last weekend we saw something I don't think I've ever seen something like this before. In the London Marathon, Sifan Hassan, who is an amazing athlete, 5,000, 10,000 meter Olympic champion. She ran 3 events there and she medaled in all 3. She's just an amazing, amazing athlete. And she was crying before the event saying, why on God's earth did I decide to do a marathon? Never run one before. She has done half marathons, but she has never done a full marathon before. And it was like, okay, what am I going to do this morning? Anyway, she toughened up and she went out there. And she started off. And after a few kilometers, she started to drop back. And she said, oh my God, I'm having an injury here. So she slowed down. But she said after she slowed down and took it easy for a bit, her legs started to feel better and better and better. So she picked it up. And because it's her first marathon, she didn't know where the water stands were. She she missed a lot of stuff. She just ran a green race. But unbelievably enough, she came back and she actually won the London the London Marathon on her debut marathon, which is just awesome to see. I don't think I've ever seen a big marathon like that go to a newcomer, but she did it, and she was awesome doing it. So kudos to her. Sifat Hassan, out of the Netherlands. She is an awesome athlete. I mean, I've seen her up close working out, and she is always locked in. I saw her in Zurich, and I tell you, everybody else was going to bed and relaxing, and she was outside training. So she takes her sport very seriously. She takes her craft very seriously, and it's paying off. She's now the London Marathon winner. She has the Olympic title. She has World Championship titles. She has pretty much everything on her resume right now, which is just awesome to see for a young lady that worked really hard to get where she is. On the men's side, we saw Kenya's Kelvin Kiptum. Now, he is very dangerous, I must say, because believe it or not, he broke Eliud Kipchoge's course record to win the men's section of the London Marathon in the second fastest time ever. Only Kipchoge has gone faster. And trust me on this when I say this, Kiptum had more in reserve. He was flying at the end as if he was just starting the race. So a lot of people are now saying, is he going to be Kipchoge number 2 or Kipchoge 2.0? Because a lot of people feel he has a great chance to beat Eliud Kipchoge. And coming into this year, the feeling was Kipchoge is the GOAT, right? He's ready to go one under 2 hours. He's done it. Didn't get it because of how the race was set up, but he is ready to do that. But I can tell you, Kiptum, based on how he ran that 2 hours and 1, he's also ready to go under 2 hours. So it's going to be a fascinating race if they ever get together. And it's one, the marathon is a long race. As I said, it's 2 hours, but I'd probably take the time to watch that race for 2 hours because it will be a fascinating race. And I would certainly look forward to seeing them meet up sometime this year, if not at the Olympics next year. Because remember, Kipchoge, a week before, he struggled in the Boston Marathon. So he came out as a heavy favorite, and a lot of TV coverage and everything was there for him. And he said he got an injury in the middle of the race, and that's what caused him to run fifth or sixth down the line. He was not a factor, and he said, it was just because of the injury. Now let's see if it is just the injury, because if he's ready and Kiptum beats him, then you know what? It's going to be Kiptum as the number one in the world. So let's see what Kipchoge can come back with. I mean, I have a lot of faith in what I've seen and what he can do, and he has been very consistent over the last few years. It was the first time when he was losing a marathon for like 4 years or 3 years actually, when he lost in Boston. So Kipchoge is really the goat right now, but Kiptum is trying to put his name on the map as well, and I'm certainly looking forward to see the two of them get together and smash that tour barrier for the men's marathon. In some results over there in Texas this weekend, we saw Jamaican Akeelia Smith. She won the long jump with a very, very impressive looking 6.69 meters. So Achilles putting her name on the map over there. She goes to Texas Tech. And you know what? Jamaica's putting themselves on the map in pretty much everything. Sprints, long distance, I mean middle distances, I should say. But certainly in the jumps, they're looking really, really, really good in the jumps. And now even the throws. So Jamaica is not only a sprint nation anymore, they're a total track nation, track and field nation. And let's see how far Akeelia Smith goes. She was a finalist at the World Championships in Oregon in both the long jump and the triple jump. So she's a very talented young lady, still in college. And let's see how far she goes. But she was an easy winner, looking very impressive, jumping 6.69 last night over there in Texas. In the 200 meters, one of my favorite runners, Gabby Thomas, coming out of the USA, she won the 200-meter race in a very fast 22.21, looking good, always looking good. And she defeated Lania Thomas, who another Thomas, no relationship there, who ran 22.3. Ashanti Moore from Jamaica, so she was a very hot topic in Jamaica a few years ago from the high school level, where a lot was expected of her. And she seems to be rounding into what a lot of people feel is going to be her form or form year, because she ran a big personal best of 22.49. Last weekend, she ran 22.62. This weekend, 22.49. So she's dropping in a way that a lot of people expected her to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if she gets to 21 this year, although her favorite race is the 100 meters, where I'm sure she's going to go 10.9 or 10.8 this year. But talking about 10.9s and 10.8s, last weekend was Velocity Fest over there in Jamaica. And now that was a event that a lot of people were looking forward to. The lineup for the women's 100 meter had Sharika Jackson. It had Brianna Williams. It had Elaine Thompson here. It had Tina Clayton. Now, Tina Clayton is the world junior champion 2 times over. Elaine Thompson, double Olympic champion. Brianna Williams, a former double world junior champion. Sharika Jackson, number one in the world in the 200 meters, and a bronze medalist and the 100 silver medalist from Oregon. So everybody's looking forward to see how this race would have gone. Now, it was a bummer from the beginning because Tina Clayton and Elaine Thompson just did not show up. So they pulled out before the races even started. Brianna Williams went in and she ran her heats, and she was beaten in her heats by Natasha Morrison. And I guess I'm not sure what happened there. She didn't show up for the final. She did look injured to me, but a lot of people felt she wasn't feeling the way she wanted to feel or looking the way she wanted to look on the track. So she decided to not go for the finals. But Sharika Jackson was very comfortable in the heats and even more comfortable in the finals. And she won that race in a very, very fast and impressive world leading time of 10.82 seconds. Now, what is so good about this? This was her season opener. So to open up your season with a world leading 10.82 is just totally off the charts. I mean, earlier in the day, Aliyah Hobbs from the US had run 10.86 to be the world lead. So she took that over. But what I think was most impressive for me in this race is watching her run. Her form has changed. She's no longer fighting herself, pushing herself. She looks so relaxed running. It was like everybody was saying, oh my God, she's so easy. But it was more running form than being easy. And she admitted that after the race, saying, you know what? It may look easy to you guys, but it was a hard race for me. And but she was very, very relaxed. And if she can keep that relaxed stance in the 100 meters, a lot of people feel that she's ready to run that 10.6 now. She is 10.71 personal best. But if she can stay relaxed, not lose her cool when she has Shelly Ann and Elaine and all the big names around her, she will be a major, major factor in the 100 meters. Although everyone believes, including myself, that she has an awesome shot. of actually breaking the women's 200-meter world record, which many people felt could not be broken. 21:34 from all the way in 1988 from Florence Griffith Joyner. Sherika Jackson ran 20:21.45 over in Oregon last year. And what I've seen on her race last weekend, she is much faster now. She's been running 400s, going 50.9. So she's in great shape from 1 to 4. And I believe she has a great shot of breaking that world record for the 200 meters. And she's going to be a huge factor in that 100-meter race and the World Championships in Budapest this year. We don't have to go too far to see what is going to happen because next weekend, actually May 5th, next Friday, we're going to see Sharika Jackson lineup in Doha, the first Diamond League meet of the year. And in her race, she's going to have none other than Shakari Richardson, who started off the season running 10.5 when assisted. And she seems to be back in form. Also in that race is going to be Dina Asher Smith from the UK, and she's in great form as well. So the 100 meters next weekend coming up, we'll see Dina Asher Smith, Shakari Richardson going up against Sharika Jackson. Abby Steiner's in the race as well, but she may not be a factor against these dragsters because these girls are flying. Abby's more a 200 runner. So it's going to be very indicative of what type of season we're going to see. As Shakari started off, as I said, 10.5 with a little win. Sharika Jackson, 10.82. And Dina Asher Smith, she hasn't run a 100 yet, but she was very good in the 60s coming out. So it's going to be a fascinating race next weekend and a good indication of what the season is going to look like for the women's 100-meter races. And as mentioned at the Velocity Fest, there was a 100-meter race that a lot of people were looking forward to see. A bunch of people pulled out at the end. Johan Blake didn't show up and all of that. But in general, just about everybody was there. Akeem Blake was the number one guy going in along with Zarnell Hughes from Great Britain, trains in Jamaica with Glenn Mills over there at Racers Track Club. And he lined up against Akeem Blake in the finals with Julian Fort and some other guys that was planning to have a really fast race. Now, watching the race, it was obvious to even my old eyes here that Akeem Blake seemed to have kick-started the race. He got a flyer, but the race wasn't called back. And after the race was done, it was like, okay, what are they going to do? Because the clock never started. Because the clock starts, because of the false start, the clock didn't go. And so we had a race that it was a very exciting race, which Akeem Blake won. As I mentioned, he got a flyer. Zion Lewis came hard at him at the end. And eventually, they said, okay, Akeem Blake picked the race. But after running such a hard race, it was the last race of the meet. They decided not to rerun the race. So it was really it was bad to see this happen because it's almost like a fiasco. Where at a big meet like this, you're going to have a race with some of the top sprinters in the world, and you couldn't get a time for them. So they had no time. Zion Hughes was adjudged the winner after Akeem Blake was disqualified, and of course they said it was 9-9 hand time. So of course, no one does hand times anymore. So we'll see if they meet again. But for now, that's how that 100-meter race went over there in Jamaica last weekend. But over in Florida, and I'm still shaking my head at this one. I'm totally blown away, and I had to actually watch the race to see that it wasn't a joke on the internet. But Noah Lyles, the number one 200-meter runner in the world right now, the American record holder, the 200-meter, and one of the top sprinters in the 100 meters. He's always on the 4x1. He's looking great, and everybody says he's going to be the replacement for Usain Bolt. But he got beaten by a high schooler, 18-year-old Issa Mazinga, defeated none other than Noah Lyles in a race in Florida last weekend. And I'm like, whoa, a high schooler. Now, it was wind assisted, so it's not given at the time that is accepted. But he won that race in 9.83 to Noah Lyles' 9.92. And it's going to be interesting to see how this young kid does. Because honestly, I have not seen a teenager going that fast so early. I mean, Tobago from Botswana is looking really good, and he ran today running 9.91, but he is the world junior champion 2 times over in the 100 meters, and he's very good, very cocky as well. So, which is a good trait to have in the sprinters, and he was looking really good. But this young kid, Issa Mazinga, I have to look out for him now. His high school over there in the U.S., 9.83 seconds plus 2.6 win over there in Florida. Interesting to see how these young kids are going to do this year. We also saw 17-year-old Adeja Hodge from the British Virgin Islands. Now, she destroyed the Curfew Games last year as a 16-year-old with some phenomenal performances. She came to the U.S. indoors and she destroyed the top Americans over there as well in the 200 meters, breaking all the meet records you could think of. And now at 17, she ran 11.12, a personal best, to win 100 meters in that meet over there in Florida. So a 17-year-old 11.12, an 18-year-old on the men's side 9.83. So these kids are not playing around. We also have Alana Reid from Jamaica ran 10.92 at the Boys and Girls Championships in Jamaica, and she's on the 17 going on to 18 as well. So the young kids are not playing around, and I can tell the older ones are saying, "Oh my God, the kids coming up are going to be beating me soon. I got to train harder." So it's going to be interesting to see how the year goes on for these young kids as they go from strength to strength before they're even 20 years old. In another result, the Commonwealth champion, Kyron McMaster, he's from the British Virgin Islands, and he opened up his 400-meter hurdle season running 48.73 for a nice victory over there in Florida as well. So a good way to start the season for him. Very solid runner, always a medalist or in and around a medal at the World Championships and Olympics, and of course the Diamond League. He's also a winner a couple of times. So looking forward to see how he does this year. Struggled with injuries a bit, but I think it's his time to come back and be a factor in those races. Now we have the Penn relay is going on and the Drake relay is going on. So, on TV today, and when it's on TV in the US, it's a big thing. The Drake relays are going to be on CBS, while the Penn relays are going to be on NBC. And that they're both going on today. Now, the Penn relays, Jamaica seems to be taking over the Penn relays totally. On the boys' side, they won the 4 by 100 meters with Jamaica College running 40.97. Then Kingston College came back and won the 4 by 400 meters, and the KC team lost the 4 by 800 meters after leading all the way by 2/100ths of a second to Chatham. So a very fascinating finish to that 4 by 800 meters, but Jamaica almost won all the top relays on the boys' side. On the field, for the first time ever, a Jamaican won the javelin for boys, which was just a shocker because Jamaicans are not known for throwing the javelin. They also won the long jump, the shot put, and the triple jump. So, as mentioned, Jamaica is not only dominating on the track, they're also trying to dominate on the field, and they're doing a great job at the Penn Relays. On the girls' side, the finals for the girls are going to be today on the track, but in the field, they won the discus. Rika Williams breaking the record. Big throw from her in the discus. Jamaica also won the shot put and the triple jump. So, and they're big favorites in the 4 by 1 and the 4 by 4 and a big factor in the 4 by 8 So what we're looking for is it's almost like a total Jamaican dominance right now at the Penn Relays. But it should be noted that a lot of colleges have stopped going to the Penn Relays. They felt it was not fair to them. So you have a meet in LSU, of course. It's going on today, which is a competitive meet to the Penn Relays. A lot of the schools that used to go will be over at LSU. And of course, the Drake Relays is going on as well. So it's a little watered down, and maybe the competition isn't as strong as it used to be. And everybody's missing Jamaica, or not Jamaica, it's the USA versus the world, but it's really Jamaica versus the USA at the Penn Relays. A lot of people always look forward to that. The Penn Relays also made a big change as they moved away from the boys running on the Saturday and the girls running on the Friday. They switched it around this year. They said they're going to switch it back next year and see how it goes. But the boys run on Friday, the girls are going today. So it's a new change. Penn Relays trying something different, but still an exciting meet to go. It's very unfortunate. It's always good to have rain, but I mean, it's unfortunate to have it in the middle of a hot track meet like that. So they were running in the rain, and it was difficult for some of them, especially those coming from warm Caribbean islands, as to go from a hot 30 degrees Celsius to come down to 8 and 9 degrees in the rain. It was a bit tough for them, but what can we say? They have to do what they have to do in track and field. Rain or shine, they're going to be out there. In some news and notes, I mean, pretty much every week we talk about Julian Alfred from St. Lucia. She has destroyed all the indoor records for NCAA, and she said she's ready to go outdoors and do the same against the pros. And her country had showed a lot of respect for her, and they have awarded her already a diplomatic passport and financial assistance. So the government is backing Julian Alfred all the way. And I'm sure if she continues like this, she's probably going to become a national hero in the days to come. But she's doing awesome. As mentioned before, one of the nicest persons you can ever meet, and very hardworking, very diligent, very meticulous in what she does. And she totally deserves everything that she's getting. And the people of St. Lucia must be extremely proud of her. And the government is showing that they love her by giving her all these amazing gifts and a diplomatic passport. In another news, Edwin Allen's standout sprinter, Serena Cole, she was a heavy favorite going into the Boys and Girls Championships from Edwin Allen over there in Jamaica. And she had an injury and she pulled out. But now it's heavily rumored that she has signed a professional contract. She's not even going to bother with going to college, university, or anything like that. She's already going pro. She's 18 going on to 19. Her personal best is 11.13. She's also a long jumper. And, you know, she didn't run in the finals of Boys and Girls Championships. But the winner there, Alana Reed, she ran 10.92. And Serena Cole was the actual favorite going in. So it'll be interesting to see if she was fit, what time would she have done? Now, if Serena Cole has signed a professional contract, what is Alana Reed going to do? She had already committed to going to the University of Oregon. She committed before she started running these fast times, and a lot of people are pushing her. She said they have tons of agents at her home leaving contracts for her to sign. So you have schools wanting her, agents wanting her to go pro. It's going to be interesting to see what young Alana Reed does. She's 17 going on to 18, so still a young kid, but she's running 10.92, which is extremely fast, and she's running 22 as well in the 200, so she's extremely talented in this both sprints. And it's going to be interesting what choice she makes because although already committed, she can cancel that commitment and choose to go pro. A lot of people are pushing her to say, you know what more can you achieve in college? You're already running 10.9. You're not going to go much faster. Might as well get the money now. Strike while the iron is hot. Now, is the iron hot enough for her? I'm not sure, but it's a huge decision for this young kid. Sometimes when you see the money in front of you, you may take it and it may be the best thing, but sometimes it may not be. Everybody's situation is different. It's going to be interesting to see how she responds to this pressure that she's getting to go pro. In other news, Shawn Emila Weibo and her husband Maysel Weibo, they have welcomed into the world a son. So, world champion, Olympic champion Shawn Emila Weibo from Bahamas, 400 meter double Olympic champion over 400 meters, one of the top runners over there in the 200 meters as well. And everyone expected her to do amazing this year until we found out that she's with child. So they gave birth last weekend to a son, Maisel Weibo Jr. So he's out in the world now. Congratulations to both of them. Awesome couple. Shauna Miller is also a very nice person to be around. Very funny, very jovial all the time, and an amazing athlete on the track. She doesn't fool around. As you remember when she fell through the tape, although some said she dived through to beat Alison Felix in the 400 meter Olympics in 2016. So let's see if that kid is going to be a super athlete because Maysel Weibo himself is a decathlete who is in the top 5 in the world. So it's coming up with some great genes. Let's see how this little boy does as he gets older. Now, we always talk about the IOC and Russia and what they're trying to do for Russia. So the IOC is getting caught in the middle right now when it comes to the Olympic Games. There's 35 countries pushing back to say they may boycott the Olympics if Russia comes there. IOC has been pushing back, saying, you know what, I think it's been unreasonable. The politics shouldn't get into sport. We're going to try and get Russia there as neutral athletes, if anything. Now the Kremlin, they're coming back and saying, IOC, no, 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 no. That's not how it's going to work. That having our athletes come as neutral athletes is unreasonable, it's discriminatory, and it is excessive. And they want them to do something about it because they want to be coming to the Olympics as Russian athletes. So IOC is saying only come as neutral. 35 countries, including Paris and Australia, a whole bunch of countries are saying they shouldn't be there at all. And so the IOC is trying to cause in the middle here. And it's a very, very interesting discussion that is going to happen because you have part of the world saying don't want to see anything to do with Russia in sports, and but they haven't done anything from a sports perspective. So it's very, very difficult to make some of these decisions because to some extent it's really politics getting in the middle of sports. Now there's a heavy rumor over there in France that there's a movement going on where thousands, I'm saying, not just a few hundred, thousands are volunteering for the Olympic Games, and they plan to volunteer, be registered, and then don't show up to embarrass the Paris Olympics in 2024. So this Olympics is just not shaping up well right now. You're having protests from, as I said, over 35 countries. You have Russia not happy. You have the IOC not sure what to do to make everybody happy. And now you have a bunch of people saying, you know what? I am going to make this Olympics a failure. I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to register as a volunteer. And then I'm going to not show up. And that would be a huge blow. Huge blow. And I'm not even sure how you're going to stop that. How do you going to know who's going to show up and who's not going to show up? So it's sad to see that the Olympics is coming to that because it's once every 4 years and everyone looks forward to the Olympic Games. So it's really sad to see that it's coming down to something like this. And I really, really hope that somehow it can be figured out that we can move away from this. I think Olympics should be a celebration of sports, of people, of humanity, and it should be a fun place. It should be a happy place, and it should be a place where everybody can express themselves and enjoy themselves. So interesting to see how that works out, but it's really, really dicey right now in that case, and it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a huge struggle if the war doesn't end between Ukraine and Russia. It's going to be a huge struggle for this Olympics to go off without a hitch because I think more and more countries may join up and start to boycott the games, and that's going to be an issue for the Olympics if you have big countries not showing up. So interesting times ahead. I mean, we're 2023, so we're just over a year away, not too far. I'm hoping some things can be sorted out sooner than later. Now we're going on another track. We're going to Formula One racing. So on the track, you have so much sprinters out there, so much field eventers out there, but they're not going fast enough because on the Formula One, we have the fastest cars in the world. And for the first time, the very first time this season, a non Red Bull driver is going to take the pole position. And it's going to happen on Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Now, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc is the first non-Red Bull driver to take pole position this year, and his car was going fast. And a lot of people are saying that this is due because they have introduced a second qualifying session to set up the grid for what they call a sprint race. So, you know, the Red Bull drivers are saying the track is normally quite chaotic, and this is making it even more chaotic. Fernando Alonso, who has been coming out of the thirds and fourths, said it was more challenging and stressful. Well, believe it or not, former champion Lewis Hamilton says it's the most exciting weekend so far this year. So, different views on what Formula One is doing to make it more exciting on the track, but not everybody's liking it. So far, only Lewis Hamilton seems to be liking it, and it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Right now, he's fifth, and let's see if he can win the race somehow. Doubt it though. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Now he has denied reports that he's going to be going to Mercedes next year. That would be very, very interesting to see. Because right now, a lot of people are saying, what's going to happen to Lewis Hamilton? He hasn't signed. His contract ends at the end of the year. And it's going to be interesting to see if he actually stays. But he made it very, very, very clear that, you know what? I am satisfied with Mercedes and I'm going to be there at the end of the season. And I'm going to be there if they need me next season. Interesting times ahead in Formula One racing. Going to be very, very cool to see if somebody can beat their Red Bull team this year because their car is so much better than the others. We also have Ferrari coming up, and a lot of talk is about Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. So let's see if what happens at the end of the year. But right now, this weekend, it's going to be the Azerbaijan Grand Prix taking place. Let's talk a little tennis. So I think tennis is trying to find some new superheroes, as I call them. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek, she has been doing really well, the world number one, and she's doing well. She's been winning since she came back from injury, and she defeated Arina Sabalenko. And she's doing, as I said, as a number one should do, which is to set the pace, because I think they're trying to find somebody that they can say, this is a star. When everybody wins all the time, then it's like, who's the star here? And sometimes the sport needs a star. Let's see if Iga Swiatek can do that. On the men's side, a lot of talk about the youngster Carlos Alcaraz from Spain. Only 20, but he is expected to be. They said he has no flaws, he has no weaknesses. So, which is a shocker to hear. But he's looking really, really good now. He has found a rhythm. For some reason, he has had a lot of losses to Felix Auger Aliassime from Montreal, Canada. I think Asim is leading him like 5-1 or 5-2 in terms of victories. But he's now found his rhythm as well, and he's winning in Spain. He's now in Monaco playing, so he's looking really, really good. So it's going to be interesting to see if those two can continue. Iga Swiatek on the women's side, and Carlos Alcaraz on the men's side. I must say that over there in Madrid, though, this weekend, he didn't look so good. It was a major scare. He actually almost lost the game, which was also really, really weird to see because, maybe he took it for granted or something. But he's through, and let's see if he can go on to win it. And on the women's side, Swiatek, she's winning as mentioned. She keeps winning. So let's see if they can both take this and cement themselves as number one in the world on the men's side and on the women's side. But in a big call, and a lot of people are wondering when this is going to happen. So every day you get up, you hear AI taking over the world, and it's all about artificial intelligence. Now, human line judges in tennis, they are going to be replaced by an electronic calling system on a full-time basis on the ATP tours starting 2025. So in 2 years' time, you won't have any line judges out there. So now when you watch a game, you see all these people lined off looking at the lines to make sure if the ball touches it or goes over it, they can make a call. In 2 years' time from now, they're gonna all be gone. So the game is probably gonna look a little different. The court may look a little emptier when you watch this game. But people say that's progress. I'm sure some of these line judges are not going to be so happy about this, but I guess artificial intelligence will do a consistent job. They will do almost a perfect job because it's going to be extremely accurate. So, from the point of view of that, it's a good move, which I think is going to work out really, really well for the players in terms of not having any disputes about what happens, unless, of course, the electronic calling system fails to work as it should. But they can know how to fix it. So, in general, it should work. And in 2 years' time, all the human line judges are going to be replaced over there in ATP tennis. Interesting times ahead for that. Now we have in North America, and especially in Toronto, we have a big, big game tonight. So it's the NHL playoffs going on. The NHL playoffs, the Maple Leafs are considered one of the top teams in the NHL by reputation. Leaf City is a crazy city to live in. Everybody loves the Leafs. Everybody talks about the Leafs, and everybody cries with the Leafs because they let them down. Since 1967, they haven't won. They have been pretenders and only pretenders. But since 2004, they have not passed the first playoff round, which is shocking because they've had some good teams. But this year, they went out and they get everything that they needed to go all the way. They bought experience, they bought toughness, and of course, they had a lot of talent. They have a full team out there, and they took a 3-1 lead against Tampa Bay last weekend within two overtime games in Tampa Bay. Came back to Toronto in game five on Thursday. Place was full as expected, and they lost. A lot of people have seen the Tampa Bay goaltender finally showed up, and he was just shutting the door on everything. Let's see if he shows up again tonight. But I will tell you this that everybody from Leaf Nation is on tenterhooks right now. It's like, oh my God, is it going to happen again? Because twice in the last 4 years, they have been leading 3-1 and lost in the first round. So, it's going to be interesting. This one to Tampa Bay, one to Montreal. So let's see if they're going to find a way to win tonight. They're leading 3-2 in the series. I believe, and I said it last weekend, that I think they're going to go all the way to the finals this year. But personally, I would rather them winning tonight instead of coming back to Toronto on Monday for game seven. So I'm looking forward to see the Leafs. It's a huge game tonight over there in Tampa Bay. But I strongly believe that, believe it or not, that they're going to win tonight. And I think sometimes when the home teams get home, they don't start off as fast as they should. The team coming in is coming in pumped, and sometimes that can make a difference. Tampa Bay is good at managing themselves at home, but they're not the same Tampa Bay from previous years where they were unbeatable. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight. But I'm going with the Leafs to win, maybe in overtime again. But as long as they win, because it would be a nightmare if they have to come back to Game 7 in Toronto. The whole city is going to be shaking and wondering what is going to happen. Not again, not again. When you're leading 3-1, you should find a way to win the series. So let's see if they can actually do that. Meanwhile, Edmonton, another big Canadian team over there. Connor McDavid, the number one player in the league, and he's just awesome. He's lifting his Edmonton team on his back, and he's taking them to the promised land almost. So they came back, and now they're leading 3-2 against Los Angeles Kings, and they're going to play Game 6 tonight over there in Edmonton. And actually, they seem to have a very, very solid shot of winning tonight as well. So you may see two Canadian teams winning and going on to the next round, which would be fascinating to see because that doesn't seem to happen very often. Over in Winnipeg, who is hockey crazy town, they have some of the most amazing fans over there. They got crushed by the Vegas Knights, so they have lost that series 4-1. So Vegas Knights moves on, and a good show by Winnipeg, but they just were not a big match or a good enough match for the Vegas Knights. So they're out, and two Canadian teams left: Maple Leafs and Edmonton, both leading 3-2, both playing tonight. Let's see how those games go. On the basketball side, now there's a lot of talk about what is going to happen in basketball. The Suns over in the West, Phoenix Suns, they're going to take on the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets are ranked number one. Phoenix Suns, everyone is expecting them to win. I I'm not sure what is going to happen in this game because I think, to me, this looks like the final for the West. At this point in time, I mean, the other one matchup is going to be the Lakers as they defeated the Memphis Grizzlies, and they await who is going to win the Kings Warriors. They're tied at 3-3, and that game 7 is going today. And the Warriors, I think, is going to find a way to, with their big name, Steph Curry, to beat the Kings. But yeah, I don't think those two can take on the Suns or the Nuggets. So to me, out west, what we're looking at actually is almost like a final. The Phoenix Suns taking on the Denver Nuggets, and that starts today. And that is going to, I think, is going to go all the way to 7 games, in my opinion. That's a really, really, really tough matchup with a lot of big name players. So let's see who goes out west. And out east is the same story. Believe it or not, the Boston Celtics, they found a way to beat Atlanta as I predicted last week. Philly was already home and dry. But those are the two big teams out east, and they're going up against each other as well. Now, Philly, 76ers, maybe without their big star, Joel Embiid, who has been injured, they were hoping that, since they won the first one 4-0, they should have a little more time after they defeated Brooklyn. But they're saying they're not sure if he's going to play today. So Boston found a way to beat Atlanta, and a 6-game series. So, I mean, they're fully warmed up. I'm not sure if Philly's going to be cold, sitting down for almost a week. But I think this is going to be like a finals in the East. Philadelphia, to me, this is their year. If they're going to win something, it's going to be this year. Boston is a tough team, not an easy team to beat at all. And it's going to be a very fascinating matchup between the two. Two tough teams. I think this is also going to go 7, just like the Suns and Nuggets out west. So a fascinating game of basketball this weekend, with I think the East Finals and the West Finals is happening in the semifinals. In the East, we have another series that is coming up. The New York Knickerbockers. Now, it's always a love team, but they've just not found a way to do anything since like the 70s. But they're not looking too bad this year. And they really handled Cleveland really, really well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they take on the Heat. Now, the Heat kicked out the Milwaukee Bucks, which a lot of people expected Milwaukee to win. And somehow Milwaukee just could not do it. They had their big injury to Giannis, and he missed out on the games, which I think caused the Heat to take over. But Heat found a way. Older team, but they know how to win, and they have been winning big time. Like when I say big time, they have been winning big time. That's going to be an interesting series. But right now, if I was to put money on it, I would probably go with the Heat to take out the Knicks, which would see the Heat go into the East Finals against either Philly or Boston, which is going to be interesting. But I always think at this point in time, in the East, it's either going to be Philly or Boston going to the finals, or in the West, it's going to be the Suns taking on the Nuggets. And I think It's going to be very close, but I think the Suns may find a way to beat the Nuggets, which would not be so great. And we will see how that one goes. So that's two very, very interesting matchups in the East and the West. And I call it the secondary games because the Lakers, LeBron James is saying, we have to be better. We're going to do better. And you never mark them off. They have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, two of the greatest players ever, in my opinion. You can never mark them out. They're looking older. They're not looking as sharp, but they handled the Memphis Grizzlies really, really well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can find a way to take on the Warriors, which I think they will. And if Steph Curry and company gets going, that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup as well. But the Lakers, I believe, is going to find a way with their big names, Anthony Davis, if he stays healthy, and LeBron James. And I can tell you this, it would be one hell of a matchup to see LeBron James taking on Steph Curry. It's always fun to see those two go at it. So looking forward to see how that one goes. A very, very exciting time over there in basketball land. It's getting close. Semifinals in the East, semifinals in the West, and it's getting close to see who is going to go to the conference finals. And we'll find out by the end of this week. Next show, next weekend, for sure, we'll be able to talk about that. Now, finally, today, we're going to talk a little cricket. Now, all along, we have these players coming out, and everybody wants to play, as they call it, white ball cricket, which is T20s, and everybody going, time limit, go, they bat, 3 hours, game over, go home. Now, this time, Brandon King, who plays for the West Indies and is their top opener, he played a 4-day game, and he said, "Oh my God!" He made 92, and he said he was happy to be back playing red ball cricket. Happy to be back. It's a shocker to many people because a lot of people are saying this game is dying. He's saying he's happy to be back playing it. It was fun batting out there with no time restrictions, he said. So it's going to be interesting to see if more and more players are heading that direction. We also have a lot of talk about Shai Hope, who is the captain for the West Indies ODI team. And a lot of people are saying he should be on the test team too. He should be playing red ball cricket. And there's a big argument going on about that. But for some reason, although he's great, he has not showed up in the test cricket so far in his career. He's averaging only 25. So very mediocre to say the best. But he does really well in the ODIs and decent in the T20s. So it'll be interesting to see if Weston has decided to get King, who said he's happy to be back playing red ball cricket, and Shai Hope, the captain of the ODI team, to actually go play Test cricket and see if that would make a huge difference in West Indies cricket because maybe their Test rankings could go up after that. Because right now, they're not great. They get defeated pretty much everywhere they go. They only beat the little minions at the bottom of the table. But right now, if King goes to open the batting over there with Brathwaite and Shai Hope coming up right behind them, I think West Indies may have a shot to have a really, really, really good batting lineup and a chance to make their names back on the top of the table when it comes to Test cricket. Let's see what they decide to do on that one. But also, there's a West Indies Academy playing a first class cricket over there against Team Weeks. And we saw Jamaican, Kirk McKenzie. He made 209 not out. And Kevin Wickham, he made 104 not out. So both are hitting first class, maiden first class centuries as the West Indies Academy closes it out day three against Team Weeks. So a lot of talk is always about West Indies cricket. They go out there, and as I mentioned, fast, 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 in and out, and they're done. No one can stay the course, make some runs. Now it's fascinating to see 209 from an opener. So that was really, really good to see that, wow, maybe they're trying to hold their heads now and concentrate for the full game and make some runs. And if that's what's going to start happening, then West Indies may have a shot of becoming something again in cricket. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka is playing Ireland in the Test series over there. Unexpected, Sri Lanka is, yeah, they started dominating that tournament, so they're totally dominating Ireland right now. And it's going to be interesting to see if Ireland is even going to make it competitive at the end of the day. But right now, Sri Lanka dominating. Pakistan is also taking on New Zealand today on ODI, and that is going to be an interesting game as well. But so much going on over there in cricket. One of the things that they're talking about now is the 100. That's another thing came up to go fast, fast, fast. There's 100 balls. I think 100. 100 over 100 balls, and then it's done. It's almost like a T10. But now they're saying they're going to review the format over there in England. They're not sure what's going to happen, and it's a lot of disputes and a lot of opinions. There's a lot of debates if it's even going to continue. So let's see what survives. They got the T20 going. Now the T10 is well, the T this is not T10. There's a T10. There's a T60, and there is the 100. So there's so many fast short games for 3 hours. Some are working, not all are working. But overall, cricket is happening. Lots of fun out there. Always interesting to watch cricket, whether it's T20, ODIs, the 100, whatever is out there. It's fast cricket, is good cricket. But Test cricket is always the best to watch if you're a true cricket fan. And we can see where steps are being made for the players themselves to get back into that. So looking forward to see what happens next week. So much going on. We'll have an update on the NBA, the NHL. Let's see if the Leafs go through finally and get Toronto happy again. And let's see what happens in Formula One. And of course, there's so much happening in track and field. But that is it for this week. You have been listening to Roger, the Roger Sports Hour this week, as England didn't get to make it in. And we're on Love Bay, Afrobeat Music and Talk Radio, the best sports hour on internet radio. Have a fun weekend, guys. And of course, we'll get back together with you next week.